So Joanna, it's been a packed couple of days here. What are some really standout conversations that really resonate with you from the Beet Retreat?
This one was amazing, I have to say. It was like a very high concentration of very senior leaders having very honest conversation, and there was a lot of real talk and also a lot of enthusiasm. It was a conference about the future, so you could find people sort of, this is what we're struggling with, but we're wading through it, we're coming out on the other side. There was, as I said, honesty, but also a lot of optimism. So a few things that struck me, there was a section on the future of customer connections. Netflix talked about being brilliant at the basics when it comes to consumer experience and advertising. And I love that because some of the basics are where we're doing a bad job, like managing frequency. There was a really interesting conversation around the collapsing purchase life cycle and how to create meaningful connections when e-commerce is becoming sort of more normal, which can create a disintermediation between the brand and the customer if they're not able to sort of see it and touch it in the same way. So how do you bring that back, that sort of experiential stuff back? In the future of agencies, lots of amazing conversations, and I was very privileged to have conversations with some incredible leaders, many of whom happen to be women, around how you build diverse teams, how you embrace diversity in thinking, and how much value that can create for the organization and for their clients. There was also an interesting conversation around an outcomes orientation, not just in, and that took many forms, so not just in how media is measured, but even in how we work. So how do you create an outcomes culture even inside of the agency? Like, what does it mean to be outcomes oriented as an employee inside the agency? Also just general acknowledgement that we are citizens of this planet and we all have a responsibility to make better decisions, and a big part of that is understanding the impact that we're having. So what is the kind of load that the ad industry is contributing to things like carbon emissions? And that was just kind of both terrifying and inspiring. Future of platforms, customer experiences as pull rather than push, interactive rather than passive, a focus on the value exchange, when tomorrow's buyers just learn and laugh and buy in just different ways than people of, I'll just say, my generation. Is it a walled garden future, or is it a decentralized, democratized platform future? These were all things that came up in the future of platforms. And then data and identity was both sort of high level, like how do we think about the future of television and addressability in television, and then very detailed, like please explain, how does ID resolution work and why does that matter? Why should we stop obsessing over match rates and think about things like accuracy and scale as just sort of different dimensions that should be considered in this conversation? Fundamentally, for me, it always comes back to use case, though. I know that sounds kind of obvious and trite, but don't go get something just because you think you need the thing because everyone's talking about it. What is it that you as a brand are trying to accomplish? Fundamentally, again, is what matters.
One of the conversations that stood out was about the the future of the media plan and how, what Nirvana might look like versus all the obstacles and things are in their way. Did you come out of that hopeful, or seeing that was going to be hard to achieve?
I think that the vision is beautiful, and I appreciate it, and I think there's some very material reasons why it's the right vision. Like, not least of which because brands are spending money and they need to be able to understand how that stuff is working, how it's connecting with consumers, how it is moving their business forward. But that does bump into some very practical realities, some of which are just kind of organizational things like silos that continue to exist. But some of them are really, truly larger business questions, like how wally are different media companies and platforms going to be? How do we get to a place where brands and agencies can accomplish what they need to accomplish without publishers and platforms feeling like they're being taken advantage of? Like, that's just a natural tension that is going to continue to exist.
You personally care deeply about consumers' experience and how advertisers need to do better there, and publishers as well. Did you come away feeling like we're headed in the right direction?
I did. I came away feeling inspired by the people in the room that attacked that question from a bunch of different angles. So, Netflix, again, a company that has such an opportunity to sort of build the ad experience from scratch, who is saying to itself, let's get really good at the basic stuff, because the basic stuff actually makes consumer experience of advertising better, like managing frequency and being very serious about managing frequency, because that's a real problem in our industry and makes for a terrible consumer experience. But then, you can also look then at conversations around things like the gaming experience and what's happening in gaming, where it's almost a polar opposite of being brilliant at the basics. It's about kind of exploding traditional notions of what advertising should look like and how it should work. And again, being more pull with consumers, being more interactive, being more engaging, which is not the kind of traditional advertising model.
Lastly, Joanna, what do you hope we're talking about next year this time?
Oh man, I still hope we're talking about the consumer experience, and I hope that we've figured some things out and all of us are a little better at being brilliant at the basics, so that we can be inspired by some of the more non-traditional things that are happening out in the world. I would love to see a year from now there be a real clear understanding of what the industry's carbon footprint is and how we can start making material changes in managing that and lowering that.